whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
Welcome back. Today we're going to take a small break from politics and we're going to take a look into something much bigger, something much more important. Something that could crush world governments and world religions. UFOs. Are they real? The Pentagon seems to think so. Let's get into it. On June 17, following a Senate committee by the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Senator Marco Rubio, the committee's chairman, published a report that included the demand that the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force was to standardize the collecting and reporting of UFO sightings and make it public within 180 days. Now, while many involved hope the program will seek evidence of vehicles from other worlds, its main focus is discovering whether another nation, China, especially an adverse nation, China, is using breakout aviation technology that could threaten the United States, democracy, and freedom across the world. In an interview with The Times, Senator Marco Rubio said, "We have things flying over our military bases and places where we are conducting military exercises and we don't know what it is. And it isn't ours." In 2017, the New York Times published a piece uncovering the existence of the Pentagon program looking for UFOs. The director of the program was Mr. Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo resigned in October of 2017 due to a lack of transparency. He believed that the American people should know what the Pentagon was up to and the knowledge that it had. Elizondo says he is convinced that objects of undetermined origin have crashed on Earth. In an interview with CNN, he said, "There's very compelling evidence we might not be alone." Eric Davis, an astrophysicist who has worked as a consultant and subcontractor with the Pentagon and has been a part of the program since 2007, says that he believes that some objects the Pentagon has studied could not be man-made. In a March classified briefing to a Defense Department agency, Mr. Davis said that some of the retrievals the Pentagon made were of off-made vehicles not made on this earth. That's interesting. Now, all these revelations are mind-blowing by themselves, but to me it goes deeper than that. To me, it sort of vindicates Mr. Bob Lazar. For those of you who don't know, Bob Lazar is a physicist and engineer who became famous because in 1989 and 94 he came out in interviews saying that he was working at Area 51 in an area adjacent to Area 51 called S4, and he was hired there to reverse engineer space aircraft. Now, it's hard to believe this story, but you need to know that Bob Lazar is crazy enough and smart enough to be hired to do this. In 1982, he put a rocket on his Honda, and newspaper articles covered it from left to right because it was crazy. There's even a video of it. In the article, the paper says that Mr. Bob Lazar is a physicist at the Los Alamos Mason Physics Facility. That's the S4. Lazar claimed that in his time at S4, he had to reverse engineer aircraft that were out of this world and technology-wise, and he couldn't figure much out. Not him or the other scientists, really. Even though everything was compartmentalized, so he couldn't really talk to other people. There wasn't much to figure out because the technology was so beyond. But there's one thing he discovered. Element 115. He claimed that they were being propelled at something called Element 115. And he was ridiculed for this. Scientists across the world ridiculed him for this. Element 115 doesn't exist, they said. Fast forward to 2003, and what's discovered? You guessed it. Element 115, called Moscovium. Moscovium Leviosa! Sorry. Had to do it. After coming out with all this info, Bob Lazar was ridiculed by the government. He was charged by the government with ridiculous charges like prostitution and things like that. And allegedly, his records were erased at Caltech and MIT. The Los Alamos Mason Physics Facility also came out and said that Bob Lazar never worked for them, even though the 1982 article claims otherwise. Now, 3 videos had recently been released by the military that further prove good old Bob's theory. Maybe he was telling the truth. Let's watch.
Dude, this is a drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.
In the next video, it's very important to keep in mind the excitement of the pilots. Because if this is a normal thing, they will not be excited about it.
Cycle 6-1 Tango Logic, over.
Oh, got it! Woohoo!
Roger, there's troubleshooting as soon as I
Did you box moving target?
No, I took an auto track.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Wow, look at that, man. Look at it fly!
Now the third video is my favorite one. You see where it says 99.9? That's because the aircraft cannot get a proper range on the UFO. The way that experts explained it is that since it was a Doppler radar and it was in range, it should have been able to get a reading, but it was being actively blocked. Active radar jamming, as in technology. And then it takes off at an incredible speed with no exhaust whatsoever, just like Bob Lazar explained. There's a really interesting Netflix documentary on Bob Lazar which you should check out, and also his appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience is quite fascinating as well. Now, are these alien aircraft? I'm not convinced by this. It could be some crazy Chinese or crazy Russian airplane. We don't know. I can't be sure. But I can't dismiss it either. What do you think? Comment down below. And don't forget, like and subscribe. Ginger out.